Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Monday, November the 28th. And welcome to our commentary. This is the last Monday of November 2022. So I've said many times that time is flying. It is flying. It is flying. We're just about knocking on the door of December. And frankly, we're going to be knocking on the door of 2023 pretty soon. And there's a big election in Georgia coming up in about 10 days, and we'll be talking about that as we get closer to that election. Today, I want to talk a little bit about a couple of articles that I have over at the American Thinker. The American Thinker, I publish there as much as possible. It's a great website, and I try to publish something over there every day. And it is a great, for me, it's been a great association being featured on the American Thinker. And if you're not following the American Thinker, I would strongly recommend that you do, because there's something over at the American Thinker for just about everybody. As I always like to tell my friends, if you're an American thinker, if you like to think about the issues and you want to, learn about the issues, you got to watch, or you got to catch, I should say, the American Thinker on a daily basis. There's sometimes as many as 20 articles on a daily basis over at the American Thinker. Well, anyway, I've got a couple of them that I want to share with you. Let's go back to Sunday morning. On Sunday morning, I wrote a post about Lee Zeldin. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with Lee Zeldin, he just lost his bid for governor in New York. He was a Republican candidate. He's actually a member of Congress, and he's giving that up. He gave that up to run for governor, so he's not going to be in Congress anymore. In the House, that is. And he did an amazing job. He came within 5 points of defeating the governor of New York. I can't think of her name right now. I think Kathy Boychel, I think is her name. She took over for Andrew Cuomo a year ago, and she's really been a completely lackluster governor. But obviously she won because they were able to get the vote out of the city of New York. I mean, if you look at the map of New York, Zeldin won everything just about outside of New York, but the Democrats are always able to get their vote out of the city of New York, just like the Democrats do in Illinois, where they get their votes out of Cook County or in Seattle and Portland, in Philadelphia. And this is something they do very well, frankly. And, that's why this lady is being returned as governor, even though she's done a terrible job as governor. The crime rates, the state is losing people, the businesses are leaving. I mean, it's not a good situation in New York right now. But, they got enough votes out of New York City to keep the Democrats in power. And I guess that's the choice the voters made. The voters made that choice. It was a very bad choice, but, they're going to have to live with the consequences of what they voted for. Lee Zeldin, though, is a free agent right now. He does not have a job, or won't have a job in another month or so when the new Congress comes in. And there's a lot of speculation as to what he should be doing, as to what he can do. And in my post, I argue for a couple of ideas with respect to Lee Zeldin. Idea number one is that I think he should take over the Republican Party. He should become the chairman of the National Republican Party, basically replacing the lady who's running, Wanda McCluskey, I think is her name, who's running the party right now. Look, she's not a bad person, and you can argue that she did a decent job in some parts of the country, but I think we need a change at the top. This is like a Major League Baseball team. You lose a couple of elections, and it's time to move on. In baseball, if you have a couple of bad seasons or losing seasons, they make a change. And I think we have to do the same over at the Republican National Assembly, or whatever the formal name of the organization is. Rhonda McDaniel, that's the name of the lady who's running the party right now. So I think Lee Zeldin would be a perfect replacement for her. Lee Zeldin has the energy, the drive, the message, and I can see him going around the country and turning on quite a few people. He also ran a great campaign, focused a lot on crime and what was going wrong with New York, a message that could very easily work for Republicans in other parts of the country in 2024. So I would argue, let's make Lee Zeldin the new head of the Republican Party, and let's bring that energy that we didn't have before. Now, another possibility, and keep this in mind, this is a long shot, one I'm going to suggest right now, but it could happen. Lee Zeldin could become the Speaker of the House. And that's because you don't have to be a member of the Congress to be the Speaker of the House. And Lee Zeldin could be the compromise candidate, particularly if Kevin McCarthy runs into significant opposition as they have an internal vote to select the next speaker. I think Lee Zeldin could very well end up with a majority of the members of Congress and become the next speaker. I think he would be dynamite, absolutely dynamite. Number one, he knows the Congress. He spent several years as a member of the House, and he's got the personality. And I'm very high on Lee Zeldin right now because of the campaign that he ran. So in my post, I'm saying that the Republican Party should somehow put Lee Zeldin to work, either running the party or as a long shot, and I say long shot, as the Speaker of the House. I would be very happy with any of those two consequences. My other post featuring today on Monday has to do with Biden administration basically cutting a deal with Venezuela so that we can basically buy more of their oil. And this deal is being presented to the American people as some kind of as part of a negotiation that Maduro, the dictator of Venezuela, is going to be sitting down with the opposition in Mexico City, and they're going to try to talk about, how to come together and get along better and all of that. And the Biden administration is saying, well, we're going to help Venezuela through this. We're going to buy more of their oil. And we will keep an eye, of course, on Maduro to make sure that he is doing all of this in good faith. This is crazy. I mean, this is just absolutely crazy. Number one, why are we buying oil from Venezuela? That's the first basic question. Why don't we buy oil from Alaska, from Texas, where we have lots of oil? Why go out of the United States to buy oil? What's the argument there? Now, we've been told that we're not supposed to be drilling in the United States because of climate change and, all this stuff. So what's the difference between drilling in Venezuela or drilling for oil in Saudi Arabia? I mean, doesn't that go up in the air too? Or doesn't that, affect climate change? So the Biden administration is engaging here in a great deal of deception, trying to sell to us on one hand, well, you can't drill in the United States because, we got to have renewable energies and all this other stuff. But then they're going down to Venezuela and they want them to drill more oil. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And all I can tell you is that, you're betting that a dictator is going to be acting in good faith with the opposition of Venezuela. I don't know of anybody from Venezuela who's part of the opposition who believes that Maduro is going to be acting in good faith. I'm sorry. I don't know anybody. And I know quite a few people from Venezuela. We have many here in the Dallas area. And most of them see this action as a betrayal of their democratic aspirations. So, I don't know. I don't know how much longer we can put up with this kind of a government that doesn't seem to put the interest of the United States first. And the interest of the United States is making sure that oil is drilled in the United States so that the money stays here, so that the money stays in the United States rather than go somewhere else. So bad idea, very bad idea on the part of the Biden administration. Now, another thing too, President Biden, as soon as we had this terrible tragedy, the gun control, I guess the tragedy at the bar in Colorado. I think I could be wrong when I say this, but I think it's a gay bar or LGBT whatever bar. And initially they thought it was a hate crime. It's getting more confusing every day as the information comes out. So I have no idea what it was, or I have no idea what makes a person do something like this. But I guarantee you that gun control has nothing to do with it. But the Biden administration immediately comes out and says, well, we need to try out the assault weapon ban again. And we need to do this and we need to do this. Again, it's just total nonsense. It's just complete total nonsense. This is not going to be stopped by having gun laws. There are lots of problems in the country right now, but there's a lot of people, maybe mental health issues here. Maybe we need to keep a better eye on what some of these people are doing. Maybe we need more protection. If I had a bar, I would figure out some way of maybe having more security or something on the door so that I can protect my customers. I mean, that's the reality of where we're going. But gun control is just pure demagoguery on the part of the Biden administration to change the conversation. And I just don't know what else to say, except that this is what they always come up with when there's an incident regarding guns. Well, this is today we say happy number 93 to one of the most consequential music executives. Now, this is not a guy who recorded anything to my knowledge. His name is Berry Gordy, and he's 93 years old today. And back in the 60s, late 50s, early 60s, he created what came to be known as Motown. And Motown was an amazing American story. Many recording artists came out of Motown: the Temptations, the Supremes, the Four Tops, the Jackson 5, Stevie Wonder. I mean, Motown was the source of so many of the hit songs of the 60s and 70s and into the 1980s. Now, I don't know if Mr. Gordy is still active in the business, but he certainly built an amazing business, the business of Motown. And it's just a great American success story. Here's a guy who started with nothing, and he became one of the most successful business executives in the country. So happy number 93 to Berry Gordy. A quick note about the World Cup. As you know, the U.S. and Iran will be playing on Tuesday. If the U.S. wins, they're moving on to the second round. If they lose, they're coming back home. I think even if they tie, they're coming back home. So we're hoping for a victory. I did see a little bit of the U.S.-England game. I think it was Friday or Saturday when they played it. The U.S. is a very young but a very exciting team, a team that I think has a future. And the world, I think, is starting to realize not just how talented these young men are on the U.S. team, but I think we're starting to realize now the benefits of having so many American players, young American players playing in Europe, where they can play at a higher level leagues. And therefore, when they get to events in the World Cup, they're familiar with international play, which is, of course, a lot higher than it is here in the United States, and certainly in Europe, where they have all these top soccer leagues. So we're hoping that the United States will move on. They were, again, as I said, a very exciting team to watch in their game against the UK a couple of days ago. It was a 0-0 tie, but, in soccer, a 0-0 tie, you would get at least a point out of it. And that's what they got out of their game on Saturday or Friday, whenever it was. So we wish them well on Tuesday. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and have a great day, everybody.